Shazam Poop, calling out, asking if Numbers Committee is watching. She says, I'm too good. I have a hat trick. You can't stop me. Let's see. He's still down by a goal.
That's a bold move. Let's see how it plays out.
You're going to transition into it.
Jamie with the long ball. That's going to be off the backboard. The Devil and the goalie. Enigma with the goal. That's going to be the dagger for sure. 20.
Over to Viglio from Judgmental. Viglio gets the first touch, can't get the second. Judgmental puts it into no man's land. Canadian Things there now with a lot of boost to work with. Air dribble towards it. Canadian Things with the game winner.
Ray waiting for it. Ball out in no man's land. Gets up. Gets the extra touch. Throws it through. Oh my gosh. Ray with the LOB putting in work like that's his JOB. And I cannot believe that is a one-man wrecking ball.
Watch out. Beck's really proven to be a game changer in this best of 7 here. A shot maybe coming down from Nautical, not able to read that touch from DQ though, and Og trying to get another touch. DQ dumps it down. Don't forget, this is match point.
All right, RSC fans, welcome back to week 12 of the Pre-Jump podcast. As you know, I have been your host, Mr. Consistent, Mr. Boss Radala on the desk with me coming back. Once again, as always, we've got Rob, Mr. Humdiggity, and Mr. Tech 4. Now, thankfully, this is probably one of the first times, Rob, I think in a long time, where we haven't had to actually explain everybody that's been on the podcast. We've got some consistent faces here finally.
Yeah, I'm excited to have some people back that both have some RSC history, a little bit of RSC lore to them. Both also top 5 GMs this season. Round of applause for them and their performance. And I love talking to them, bantering, so it'll be exciting.
Top 5 GM, He's I don't think he's checking the stats, my guy.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, Rob. We'll see what the people have to say.
Alrighty. Well, not to keep the intro going for too long, we are going to go ahead and roll pretty quickly into our first segment here. We're going to talk a little bit about prospect. Now, for most people who are just kind of getting back to us, they haven't really been following the playoffs for prospect. We recently crowned our champion in pepperoni pizza. They upset the 1 seed of Solar Whiskey Business in a clutch Game 7 victory. But to join us as we talk about this incredible run for prospect, we've got none other than Spooky from the pepperoni pizza. Spooky, how's it going, my man?
Glad to be here.
There it is. There's my guy. So,
Howdy, man.
Spooky, coming out, I'm just going to jump right in, I guess. Coming out of, Lunar, you guys were the 4th seed. You had to play in the wild card just to enter the tournament. How confident were you guys from that position in knowing that you would have to win at least a total of, 3 games there, 3 in the quarters, 3 in semis, and then 4 in finals. So what is that, 13 matches to get that chip?
We were pretty confident, I think. We'd had a lot of success in the normal season up to that point and in scrims and stuff, so we were pretty confident.
Fair.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
I'll jump in. I mean, first off, congrats, Spooky. What an epic run. I mean, you kind of come in the wild card, and you guys play Barbarians, 4th seed, 5 seed. Not a lot of people usually pay attention to that. It's cool, but also is somebody from that wild card really going to make a run? Well, you came out of there, and it was oh, nice. Okay, so they moved on. Then had to play number 1 seed Pulse, 1. Number 2 seed Munster Misfits, 1. And number 1 seed Whiskey Business, 1. My question is just, what did you do to kind of come from that wild card slot and then just play the absolute gambit? What really worked for you guys?
We just tried to keep the energy up, a lot of comms and keep it like active, so we didn't fall asleep, and that's really what worked the best. No,
It's the finals, my guy. What do you mean?
it's just you get sort of in a daze sometimes when you play so long.
That's fair.
You're
That's
just
fair.
keeping it hype.
So, I know something we had talked about before. Your team wasn't there from the get-go. You guys were pretty much the replacements, for lack of a better term, for Prospect, being assembled kind of later in the season, and then really turning the team around and making that such a legendary run here. How was that, knowing that you guys had to quickly build chemistry and quickly develop as a team?
It was pretty cool. I would say it was just we all felt pretty confident in ourselves. I think we liked the lineups we had. I don't think there was any issues. I know Ben was they all wanted to do a lot of scrims and stuff to try to get it faster, and so we did that.
Fair
Nice.
enough. Fair enough.
If I could jump in here, just first
Go
off,
ahead, man.
apologize to the champion, Spooky. I believe I cut you this season. I just want to
Wow.
probably should have kept you on the team. Looking back at it, so my team got knocked out in the first round. That's all my lower tiers did. It's unfortunate, but how did you take that cut, I guess, and go from there? What was the free agency process for you? I know we don't have a lot of guests on here in free agency normally, besides our resident guy, Boz, but we don't talk about him. It's a sore subject still.
I pretty much knew you were gonna cut me. I was the last pick in Prospect, I think. So I knew there was no chance for me. And then I didn't really think I would get signed by anyone, so I was just gonna try to dominate Dev League the whole season. And then I got signed. It was pretty fast.
That's awesome. Well, glad Dev for you. I know it's a newer project that RSC has had.
So, not to jump in here, but one question that I'm really interested in from you, right, is you guys were that wild card and you did make that run. Were there any specific moments of adversity that really stuck out to you as we did this, now everything else is right in front of us, now we know what needs to be done? What was the hardest part of the season? When did you get that confidence?
I was gone for 2 weeks, and I think when I got back and they had swept a couple teams in my absence, and I got back and I was still playing almost as good as I used to, that was the biggest issue I think we were gonna have, and it went perfect. So
that makes
That was
sense. Just
good.
coming back. Was there any team in this kind of playoff gauntlet that stood out to you as a specific challenge, or was it just whoever's in front of us is going down? What were you thinking in that process?
yeah, there was no real specific team. I knew a lot of the Prospect guys always said that Solar was harder than Lunar and all that, and so I figured the finals would be our hardest match for sure. But other than that, it was pretty much everybody was our enemies.
So let's talk about
Fair
that final
point.
match. A match wins 7 games. When you look at goals, both teams scored 11 goals. So very even match. You guys win game 2, you win game 1, win game 2, lose game 3, lose game 4 to put it on 2-2. So you're just in a best of 3. You take game 5 to go up. You lose game 6. Obviously, you win game 7 to complete it. But can you talk us through kind of what that mental was, that kind of feeling was when you're winning games to start, then all of a sudden you get back behind and you have to come from behind to come back. That kind of roller coaster of where you are.
I liked that we started off strong, but we just tried to stay positive throughout it. And we lost game 6, and then game 7, I was like, I knew down like the first goal was gonna win. So I was just trying to. We just had to keep it positive and not completely give up.
Fair
And
point.
then-
Fair point.
We'll drive into a little bit more there. You kind of talk about it like it was a team effort, and I'm sure it was. But Spooky, you were MVP of Game 7, dropping 671 points, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 saves. Talk us through what it felt like being that difference maker in that last game.
I just sort of. I think my teammates are usually pretty consistent, and so most of the time it's just down to if I'm playing good or not, because I can always count on them to do around the same thing, you know. And so it's just if I'm doing bad, we lose, and if I'm have my head in the game and I can not and I look out for them and stuff, we can usually win. And so I was just I was on that game, and they helped with a few. Obviously, Din's good on defense. Citrus, all around good shooter. I guess I was right in the right place.
Fair point. Fair point. Before I throw in this next question, Soul, I do see ya. I can't type in the Twitch chat, unfortunately. Not really set up for that at the moment, but just letting you know, I do see ya. I know you're there, my guy. Thank you for the support. But Spooky, you know, 50/50 Pizzeria, kind of one of our more unique franchises, I would say. Definitely some real figures coming out of there. How was the celebration afterwards? You know, who'd you meet up with? How, you know, who is there? Congratulate you.
It was a lot. It was like 11 people. I don't really remember everybody. I know Array, a lot of the AGMs, Link. I know we celebrated as a team first, and then we went and talked to them. Yeah.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, it's always fun, especially. And you said this was, I believe, when we were talking. This is your first season in RSC, right? So, first season, 100% win rate. How do you feel about next season? You know, you only played 12 games, so I'm not sure with as small of a sample size if they're going to promote you. Well, I mean, more than likely with that MVP, you know, you might be. But how do you feel next season's going to go for you?
Hopefully not the last one picked is what I'm looking forward to.
Definitely not this time. I
hopefully
guarantee
not cut.
Yeah, just that's about it.
Hey, fair point.
Yeah, well, actually, you do know that contracts are 2 seasons, right? So you won't have to go through the draft.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
You
So you'll be
unless you-
contracted to 50/50 whatever tier you land in, unless you choose to ask to be cut, in which most cases they'll release you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't be last picked.
Nope, definitely not this time. I mean,
Unless
you
you're
could
a
be.
6th round keeper pick,
Unless,
and
yeah.
they just have the last pick and you slot into that spot, you could technically be last picked, but I would doubt that you're going to be the cheapest player in the tier after winning a championship in it.
And I
Correct.
doubt any GM wouldn't cut you if you wanted to be, unless, you know, you think you're going to end up in an AGM spot, and then your GM saves you from torture and misery. Ain't that right, huh?
Yeah, that was a whole interesting debacle with Mr. Legend himself.
Oh, I wasn't going to name
Legendary
names,
experience.
but oh man. But
We won't go into that. So back to Spooky. I actually wanted to go into your finals run a little bit again. Going back to it, you got signed towards the end of the season, and only played a couple of games with 50/50. Did you guys play outside of matches quite a bit? Because you played more matches in your playoff run than you did in the season. And I think that's kind of insane.
Yeah, we had a lot of like double scrims where we would scrim 2 teams in 4 matches, and we would go against like elite teams and Charlie teams and that stuff. And we had some scrims against like just other teams on non-match days too. And they also had the games where I was gone, which was probably like 6 match days, I think.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Do you by any chance remember which elite teams that you scrimmed and how that went?
No.
Yeah, I want to know that too.
We had
I
one.
find it fascinating. Are you sure they were elite?
They were better than us. There was like
Elite
PCs, I think.
is like 4 tiers above you.
I don't know exactly. It was. They were
All
good.
right. Tremendous. Sounds good, man.
You sure it
Good-
wasn't
good job
Devon from
regardless,
Tech
yeah.
4?
We had
Oh
one
man.
chalet, but we like beat them so badly they cut a guy because he was getting mad.
You gotta drop names here.
Yeah, you
I'm
gotta
trying to
try.
remember.
Name.
What team
I
was
gotta
it?
know.
What team was it?
Hold on. Was
I
it in your franchise?
No.
No.
Okay, then yeah, spill the beans. What you
I'm gonna look. Hold on. I think like
If
Dolphin
you're-
or something. But
Oh,
I'm
it's
scrolling back
Enigma
in
says
this.
it was
Oh.
his team, Shinigami.
like
So-
Enigma. Was it Dorpin?
Oh,
Yeah, it was Dorpin.
yeah.
Oh,
So funny
God.
story.
Yeah.
Whiskey Biscuits captain Rose Fanatic DM'd me asking to scrim, and last season that I played, which was like 3 seasons ago, Rose was in Chally, and so I thought he was in Chally again, and I said yeah, and we roll into the match. I'm like, Ari, what are they subbing them up or what? And then we get about 5 seconds in, and I'm like, are you guys a prospect team? They said yeah. All right, you get 1 game. They made it close, but we pulled it out in OT. It was not the finest game. I just hopped on. But seeing you guys destroy a Chally team like that, did that really... When did you guys do that in the season? Was that towards the end of your season?
I think it was maybe before I left actually.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty early. But they
So
were
you guys
one of
were
the
cooking
lowest
from the
ranked teams,
get-go.
I think. Yeah, we were strong throughout, I think.
That actually brings me to a point that I would like to suggest live on the Pre-Jump podcast, which is if I want the opinion of the viewers on this too. I think it would be cool to hold show matches between teams that want to, between different tiers, potentially in the off season. Maybe if you got a rival team that's extremely confident, if they want to
Hammerheads.
challenge an elite team or a vet team and really be like, hey, we could play in this tier. I don't know. I think that'd be something that's really cool that doesn't really happen in any other venues, and we have a very unique opportunity here, being officially affiliated with the league, to actually bring these through. And we have our very own caster, Boss Radala.
Well, and then we've also got T-Sant when he can. I know he's going to try and be on here sometime in the future, but he's a good caster. Thog when he comes back, especially with everything going on, he's casting too. So we've got depth at the caster role. It wouldn't be that hard for me to whip up some sort of overlay for a show match of some sort. It'll just be kind of fun to see who's willing to play a lower tier. You don't really have a lot to gain. You have a lot to lose if you lose to a tier beneath you.
All I'm saying is I would love to see Hammerheads take on Mako's. Same franchise. Rival versus Vet. Mako's lost 36 games in Vet, and you're
before
telling
we
me
get-
that Hammerheads wouldn't be able to take a single one off of them?
Before
think
we roll
that's true.
too far sideways, Spooky, I just want to thank you for coming on to the podcast, especially on such short notice.
Yeah, thank
only
you,
being
man.
a
Oh,
week
we
of
actually
kind of
have
prep.
a word from a Hammerheads player. I think their captain saying that they're down
Hold
to play
on,
a higher
Rob.
tier
Let's-
after playoffs. I'm gonna mute again.
Let's let's thank our man for hanging out with us here, and then we'll like I said, Spooky, thanks for being on. It was a lot of fun having you here, and thank you for your answers and your insight. And,
Yeah.
try to have a good night, my guy.
Yeah, thank
You
you,
too.
Spooky. Have a good one, man. Congrats again.
Thanks, man.
See you guys.
See ya.
Okay,
So,
but how about before
like you were saying,
moving to
Rob.
anything else? Yeah, this, if they're interested, I think this would be really, really interesting, right? Like maybe I propose treating them almost to a route through the vet playoffs. I don't know, man. Give them an opportunity. If they beat this vet team, then maybe they play a better one. Maybe they play the
Oh,
actual. I don't know. I think
buddy.
there's a
No,
really.
I have the best matchup. I have the
Yeah, let's
best
hear it.
matchup
Let's hear
right
it.
now. Hammerheads versus Nitro CD's team because they barely
Oh my
missed playoffs due to a forfeit technicality. Dude, that would be the greatest thing ever.
What about a team that got first round in the playoffs? I could probably get my vet team on.
That'd be solid.
I think that would be really interesting.
Oh, all right.
Game 5 OT did not go their way.
Oof.
I literally I asked Strut while we were casting the Contender and Prospect finals there. I was like, hey, do you think Dagon could have probably beat either of these Prospect teams that are struggling against each other tonight? And he's just like, probably. Maybe. Probably.
I popped on the stream to see that. I was like, yeah, kind of agree.
Maybe 26 Panther suggests how about the champs from one tier versus the backdraw champs from the tier above. And I think that would be
Ooh.
interesting. That's a
That
kind
would
of
be pretty
spicy way
cool.
to start that off. I think that
That
would
would be
be a
real
really good
solid.
way of doing that.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you think about this. We grab a random assortment of Chally players, and we play them in vet backdraw.
Vet backdraw.
I love the idea. I think we make it out of the first round. Let me tell you that much. I think we make it out of the first round
No chance.
on a
in the
forfeit
first round.
technicality.
Oh, that was rough.
Oh god.
Yeah, so
All right.
me and a couple of other random Challies teamed up for Whale Defense's veteran team in backdraw. Made it out of the first round, 3-0, and then proceeded to go 0-3.
Wait, you guys
so-
3-0'd a vet team?
Yeah, they did not show up.
We
Got
showed
them
up.
in all 5 minutes, let them know all 3 times they're
That should be like printed out and like stapled on RSC's main page. Just
And then
this
forfeit
Chally
timer,
team.
ping them.
Yeah, they didn't want to play Chally guys. They were too afraid.
and then Mayhem, Rua, and G Cole came out, and I mean, while we were playing them, they were checking our roster to see if we were actually on the vet team because they blew us out that bad, and quickly noticed that no, we were not.
Yeah, I recently had the number 4 pick in vet, and and G Cole was my pick there if Inedible Deer didn't fall to me. So no, that's not just any vet player either. That's unfortunate matchup right there.
Yeah, I saw those names. I saw Rua, Mayhem, and G. Cole, and I just said, oh. And I think it was Dylan was like, oh, you know these guys? I was like, yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I scouted them. Yeah,
Speaking
I had the number
of
1 pick, and these were
unfortunate
all on my...
matchup.
This is not good.
No,
Mr.
I was a little
Mr.
upset when you
Rob.
subbed me in.
Hey, you did better than I did.
Not true. You were the only one on our team that did better than me.
All right, third
You
time's a
lost by
charm.
less.
Speaking of unfortunate of matchups here, how
Yes.
about Master? Having,
Master.
quite frankly, one of the kind of the weirdest finals matchups you would see. Their star player for the Feta Forgers, Mr. Ghosty, originally was slotted to be our Master interview tonight. Had something come up here, but internet went out. They ended up losing in pretty not dramatic fashion. I mean, they got 4-1, by the Blues. That's got to be tough, right? Having a player that can't quite be there, and then having such a good team getting bounced. Ain't that right, Hum?
Oh, I can tell you all about that. 4 starters missing out of the 5 teams that got bounced in the first round.
Well, I think the
Oh, yeah.
thing to note here is that the team that won it all, Blues, right? Like they they have our presumed MVP in Hawk RL, first of all. So they have what we all agreed to be the most dominant kind of best player in the tier. And that dude put up some unbelievable numbers. So finished with an 85.6 SPV and a 94 IDR, 37 and 23. And he actually tied the all-time master record for MVPs with 24, and he was 1 goal shy at 72. And you're like, man, that's a great season. He must have played really well and really consistently. And you're right. And then he did even better in playoffs, averaging 20 more points, scoring 6,000 total points in just 3 playoff series.
Wow.
Just dominated the playoffs. Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm looking at
462 points
his
per game.
finals
Do you think if
performance right
Ghosty
here.
was...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, boss.
No, I was gonna say, do you think if Ghosty was there, if it would have actually made any impact, or do you think Hawk would have just continued to be as dominant?
So Ghosty's a really, really, really good master player, right? He's a former Prem player, and at the very least, like it's not just the difference between Ghosty and an average master player, it's Ghosty and their bench player, right? So I think that it's very fair to say that the series would have been closer. I do not know if you could give it to the Feta Forgers, though. But that said, man, they said they would have won with Ghosty, no doubt. I think that's Donald, but I'm not actually sure. Yeah, it's Donald Duck is the picture. It's absolutely Donald. So they think that Donald says that they would have won with Ghosty, no doubt. I have my doubts, but I think it would have been a much, much closer series.
I do as well, but I just want to go back and touch on Hawk's performance in the final. Across 5 games, he averaged a goal a game and an assist a game. That is 2 goal contributions a game. The entire other team scored 2 goals a game. He averaged as many contributions a game as the other team scored. That's basically him just winning a 1v3. That's putting his team on a silver platter to let the other 2 players just go and do whatever they do and win. He's equalizing an entire team scoring by himself, and having a player that can do that in finals it's what wins you games. It's what wins you championships.
And man, going off that, he did it for the entire season. He was actually the only player who was in the top 40 in SPV on his team. So the next guy had I believe it was like a 48, 47 SPV. And I mean, so he did it by himself. He had 10 higher SPV than anyone else in the tier. He put up some insane stats, and he did it throughout the playoffs, right? Like, he was a man on a mission. But their real finals matchup was the round before against Stampede. Because Stampede had kind of like a miracle run. Because if you guys remember, when we had talked about Master earlier in the season, they were a top 2 or 3 team, right? And they were doing a lot of really, really good things. They lost it a little bit, ended at the 7 seed, and then just went on a run through playoffs, right? So they beat the number 2 seed overall, and then they lost in game 5 to the eventual champions. And there were 4 1-goal games in there. Shout out them,
That's a
right?
coin flip.
Yeah, exactly. I think there were 2 overtime games as well. And this is the team that put Jackson the Boss on IR earlier this season. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the scheduling issue or something else, right? But you can only wonder. Jackson is a beast. I don't know if he's the difference in that matchup. I don't know if he makes it better. Don't know if he makes it worse. Don't really know the exact situation. But he's a really, really solid player. And if you take a team to 5 games with the replacement, it leaves a lot to be pondered about what could have happened.
Yeah. And I just want to go on and talk about all of Master playoffs as a whole. It is absolutely bonkers. We have the 8 seed sweeping the 1 seed in Solar on the left side. That's just crazy. And then proceeding to get swept by the 5 seed, who took the 4 seed to 5 games, but lost
Were
in
the
5
Bastos
games.
like missing their main starter or something?
I have no
Is that
idea.
why they got swept?
Something must have happened. If anybody knows, Ghosty would have been.
I mean, you're right. Like the 1 seed losing to the 8th seed in a sweep in the opening round, that's brutal.
Nothing in Master Chat, just chains. And then Hawk breaking them.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to point that out.
No,
That
no,
is
go for it.
absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it's just insane. Like overall, the entire seeding and master that made it to the semifinals, 3, 5, 7, 8. Where's 1, 2, and 4?
And just think, 1 goal difference could have honestly had the 5 and the 7 seed in the finals. That would have been absolutely insane. Like, so much pivoted on just a couple different goals.
Shout out March Madness this year. Couple of bracket busters up in here.
For sure. I know I made a prediction at the beginning. Neither of the teams that I predicted to win made it to the finals, so we don't have to show that or anything. We can just pretend, that I was right.
For what it's worth, I think that I did pick Hawk because I remember him absolutely shitting on me all of the lead for like a season and a half. So that was lame, but he's really good, and so I think that was my pick for what it's worth. Don't quote me on it though.
I also just want to shout out Hawk again for being the breaker of chains in Master Chat. And being
Thank
MVP
you.
of Master Tier.
That should be an MVP vote right there. Breaking those chains, easily MVP vote for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think for that reason, he will not win MVP.
Oh, it better not really turn into just a total, like, I don't know, Rob, what would you call it, a popularity contest?
Yeah, I actually think this is. I think there should be essentially a voting committee on all this stuff. I mean,
every tier should nominate a certain amount of players based on the number of people in that tier. It's like the electoral college.
We literally have so many committees, right?
Just let the captains
I'll be
vote.
on it. Let the captains vote, right? There just needs to be a group of people who are voting on these things and not just everyone in the tier, because it's a little, and then that's how you get these popularity contests, right? Is when you sway just the masses. So let's say that at the beginning, I don't know, 10 people from a tier or just a committee looking at stats or whatever you want to do. I think there's a lot of options.
Hey, us three, take it to GM suggestions.
Real.
Oh, wow.
For it now.
Yeah, I'll just sit over by myself while you guys take care of that real quick. Just go ahead.
To be fair, you could have joined us at the beginning of the season.
What?
Damn.
Weren't you
You
an
had an
AGM at
AGM
the beginning
spot.
of the season?
Yeah, I just didn't think Rob was gonna throw that kind of shade on. That's crazy.
No, that wasn't shade. That wasn't shade. No. That's not what that's not how it was meant.
Damn, man.
Unlucky. So moving on.
Moving on.
Master's really
Master-
interesting.
Fantastic conversation about Master, but
Fantastic.
it does bring us into that time of the night where we kind of show you the plays that you submitted and you thought were solid in our exclusive 8 clips of the week. So, without further ado, here's your E8. Never mind. I thought I had it ready. I lied. Let's see here. Maybe. No. Come on. Let's go. Give me the video, please.
We could watch me in free play, and it would be the unexclusive 8 of the 8
Oh,
shot.
I got a little car right here. We can. Who's the first person?
I got one too, actually. Hold on.
All right, I'll go first. You go second. Who do we got, boss? Who's the first player?
The first
Mine is
player in
signed
the
by
video
Sad Jr.
is supposed to be Ghosty. I don't know why it's not playing.
Oh, well, we know why it's not showing up then.
Oh,
Nah, I'm just
Bruh.
kidding. Yeah, I love you.
bro.
shot. Oh, Rob, you're nuts.
I don't get it, man. It's so weird.
So what do you do?
It's just not playing.
Unlucky. Finger guns.
Yeah, I guess we just won't have an E8 video for the night. Am I
Maybe we
tripping?
can post it in the Discord later and you can vote. Maybe.
We can ping unless it's too late.
Yeah. Or we could just do that now, perhaps. You just post it in the Discord and ping the podcasters.
Is it still there? Yeah, there's that. That's good. Hey, there we go. So that was your exclusive 8 clips of the week. Finally got it produced. Finally got it up there. I don't know why. I pushed play like 9 times. But like last week, as soon as this podcast is over, I'm going to pop into the Discord. We'll have a poll ready for you. Make sure you've got the right role for it so you can see it. You get 1 vote apiece. But outside of that, I do want to give a big shout out to last week's winner, Mr. Hecka. Ended up winning last week with a fantastic shot, so he'll be getting that new roll, that nice snazzy purple color.
Admin buff.
Admin buff, for sure. But that wraps up our exclusive 8 clips of the week. Like I said, after this video, be ready for that ping because it's going to be coming in hot. Secondly, though, we'll move on. We'll move into Contender, the tier that Mr. Tech 4 should know all about, as Dagon just finished their warpath in what looked like the most lopsided finals I've ever casted in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw you, like, jump in, and part of it was like, oh, cool, we have a second caster. The other part was like, it's already over. I don't know why he's...
I saw Sturt was casting all by his lonesome because we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't have thread signups like last season for the finals. So it was a little bit of a wish-wash, just trying to get people all lined up. But, you know, I figured I had to jump in to watch you guys win, like, what, 12-1 that last game?
I think we had 10.
10,
like
still
that.
10-1? That's still nuts, man.
It's insane.
It,
I've never seen something like that.
I mean, before we get into anything, like, I will say the 3 of us went in and said we really wanted to make a statement, and we talked about it before. Like, Lunar was so much more dominant than Solar was in Contender this season, and you know, we played Ionic in the semifinals. They brought us to overtime game 5, and we barely squeaked that one out. So we really wanted to make sure everyone knew that they were really the number 2 team.
Fair. You know, I will say your guys' series against Ionic right before was a lot closer. I mean, you guys went the distance, went 5 games, cleared it out. But did you know you guys were just going to blow ice out of the water?
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, and I said it multiple times. I said, as a betting man, somebody that has nothing in this, like, I'm betting my house on Dagon. I told my teammates, I said, as a player, as a captain, as a GM, don't overlook these guys. They did take a game off us. Yes, that was when I wasn't playing. But like, anybody can beat anybody. I mean, that's the speech from Miracle, right? Like, we lose 99 out of 100 games. All we have to do is hit that one. And it's the same thing with us versus Ice. Like, if they hit that one lucky series where they do win, and we overlook them, we can absolutely allow that to happen. But I knew if we were on our game, we were fine.
That one game you
Fair
lost
point.
was also the only game, we talked about this prior, but the only game that you dropped against Solar for the entire season for what ended up being, what, a 27-1 record at the end against Solar?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we make another post in GM suggestions about how playoffs work and whatnot. That's
Quadruple
because
promo for Tech Fort. That's all I'm saying.
I think in a situation as extreme as this, right, where you have like 5 teams that will be the 1 seed in the other conference, like I don't know, I don't have the perfect idea in my head of what would be better, right? But and so that's what it all comes back to. But
I think.
maybe go ahead.
No, keep going.
I just think that some change should happen. I don't think we should be in a situation where a team that's 26-29 is getting a bye in the first round. Like, that's not what playoffs are for. That's not what we want to reward.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think
I
that's the-
did just want to say really quickly that I believe that was originally the point of division and conference reshuffling. And it might be time to look into how effective that is and see whether we can increase the number of teams that get switched conferences or switched even just divisions each year. Because I know right now, I think it's only 2 GMs get switched conferences.
Why don't we just drop divisions
you
as a
go
whole and potentially drop conferences? Like, we had this discussion earlier in the season, right? Like, we talked about it. The original goal was to generate rivalries in the RSC, but it doesn't make sense because like people move, they just leave their team and go to a whole new franchise, and then that rivalry's gone.
I don't even know who's in my division. Complete and utter honesty. There's, I think, 3 other GMs in my division. I don't know who they are. I think Derek's one of them.
The only one that I know
That's about
is Turbo Alpaca, I think.
The only reason I know it's Derek is because he is on the franchise.
Oh, Tech, that's
Or he
that's
was.
so
He's right
great.
behind. Or no, it's not even
That's-
Dirk anymore. It's Nick M. Oh my God, Nick, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
if we
my
talk about
God.
trying to generate rivalries, I mean, I think the people in this call know, at least with me, my 2 biggest rivalries is Hum and Rob, and we're not in the same division, so.
It's more of a as the top leading solar team. I will say, we are a good conference, but we do need some help. I'll take either one of you 2.
Well, that's what I like, right? Is that it's almost like the GMs themselves create the rivalry. Like, the most intense match day this season was match day 13, when like my entire franchise played Tech's entire franchise, and we were like 1 and 2 neck and neck in the franchise standings, right? And that is so, like, I love what that creates, right? Because at the end of the day, like, if we're going to be in a league, like, part of it is you want passion to be in it, right? And like, not only are you guys good, but we're homies. Like, it'd be cool to be in the same division eventually at some point. And like, we might have to wait like 8 seasons. Like, that just might just never happen. And
Let
I have
GMs
other
pick their own divisions.
let them vote, man. Give everyone let everyone list a top 5 of who they want to be in their division and try to pair
Let
it up.
everyone
I
pick a
think
buddy.
that'd be really cool. Yeah.
Division seating chart. Admin's get on it.
Oh, man.
I think a big part of it as well. First off, before I really go into this, I want to shout out the fact that Hum was so dominant, or not Hum, sorry, Tech was so dominant in his contender run that we're literally talking about stuff that's not contender. We're talking about all the stuff near contender. But big point out, we need more in conference and in division play, like live on the stream. set up like the best possible matchups. That's why this last season I actually made an Excel sheet for media committee to pretty much weight different matchups by who's closest record, who's got the like which two are the best seeds, are they in
Boz, you wanna know
conferences in
something funny?
division. What's up?
That used to be a part of the power rankings committee. They used to
you
have
serious?
matches to watch that would be generated each week. That would be the, I think, aggregate ranking of, it would take your overall ranking in the tier and your ranking within your conference, aggregate them, and then whichever 3 matchups had the lowest combined rating of 2 teams. So like if a 3.5 team that was 3rd overall, or a 2.5 team that was 3rd overall but second in their conference was versing a 4-point over, or a 4-point team that was 4th and 4th. That'd be kind of crazy.
Well, and that's I didn't want to have to touch the spreadsheet again after I made it, so I met up with Envy and another I can't remember the name, but they showed me how to use some of the import functions for Google Sheets. So it's literally all automated. Like once the schedule comes out, I just automate it from the get-go. But I think that'll be a big part, is if we can start getting some more of those games live on stream. I know last season we had one that was so close that when they showed the 2 matchups, like the 2 games, the stats were like perfectly meshed in the center. It was just like the nicest matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking
don't
through
know.
some of the
It's-
old power ranking sheets right now, and we did have a matches to watch.
I remember that. So this is my like 5th or 6th season of RSC. So like it's my 3rd season
Same.
of being in an elevated role of any kind. And I believe even at the very beginning of that, of my AGMing, that there was still those like matchups
I
to
think-
watch.
I think
Do you
the
know
last
why they
time that
were
it was
removed?
done, no idea. I think the last time that it was done was when I was PR head. I passed it off for a little bit. Well, I was PR head I was on the PR team in season 10 and 11, and then I took it over from the man in season 12, and I ran it until season 15. And then I gave it over to Quan, who I believe just stepped down in the early part of this season. Quan is end creds for those of you that don't know. He's going by Quan right now, so just wanted to give a little shout out to his new name change. I believe he stepped down and gave it to Slider.
No, it says Lad. K-Flip and
Lad,
Donald's
yeah.
Slider's on my team. Slider would never do some shit like that. He is way too lazy.
Barely get him on to play games, huh?
Nah, he's a beast. I love that dude. Love playing Rocket League with him. No negative. He's a goon. I don't think he would ever do a committee though.
Hey,
Hey,
it's not technically a committee. It's
Hey,
project.
Tech.
Yeah.
You gonna be back here on the podcast next season when you go to Prospect?
Charlie.
I mean, wherever I am, as long as I'm free, yeah, I'll come back.
I'm pretty sure
I
your
think-
whole team's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
promoted, right?
I definitely think the main 3 at least go prospect. I mean, I'm not on numbers, so I just speculate. I think Shattuck was obviously our most dominant player.
94.8 SPV. He's getting double promoed.
I
100%
don't
chance.
know. I don't know, and the only reason
No,
I
no, no,
argue
no, no.
against it,
You can't.
I
say
got
so with
double
such
promoed.
certainty. Boss, you can't.
I got
say
double
so.
promoted from rival to elite.
Doesn't matter. You
That's
can't,
my rival player.
especially when promos matter so much on signups and where the lines are drawn between the tiers. Like,
Oh,
should
man.
if the exact numbers were ran back, would he be double promoted? Yes, but maybe prospect is 40 MMR higher, right? Because people naturally improve. Maybe just better people sign up for the league.
Ooh.
So yes, he will be on the edge, and he's definitely going up. But I think saying with certainty that someone should be double promoted, unless it's out of AMI, is a difficult concept.
well, and
I
here's
may-
my argument as well. Is as I'm kind of pulling it up real quick, but he has, and I think I have a better chance of it than he does, specifically because he has multiple seasons in Contender of average to very below average performance. And when Numbers looks at it, they're going to look at, everything. And Now, obviously, he performed really well. I'm not taking anything away from him,
You're
but
just the GOAT enabler, Tech. What can we say?
well, realistically, all three of us, right? All three of us are going to be elevated from each other.
Hammerheads
I mean, you saw
effect.
you exactly. You saw an exclusive 8. Like, I didn't submit that clip of me, but like, yes, I look really good. That's because Sugar Biscuits put that ball in the air for me, and realistically, if you split us all up and put us on all different teams, none of us have the season we did.
Can you at least agree though that Shattuck's at least getting single promo? Like
All three of us are absolutely getting single promote at least.
yeah, I was gonna say, like I was gonna make the case, all three of you are gonna likely be in prospect next season.
Yes, I
Shattuck
definitely
may be
think,
double promo.
I think Shattuck and I think myself have a chance of being double promoed. Myself because I don't have any other contender. Take that back. I subbed in Contender my first season like 3 seasons ago for 1 match. But other than that, like I'd never played in Contender before.
Did you
So
play
I
in
just
prospect
have-
a couple games?
I also played in Prospect and had the second highest.
I had a
SPV.
77 SPV subbing up in that one match day. Okay.
It was 89,
55
but
SP.
okay. But like I
One
don't have
game
the
in
history of
Prospect.
like being an average contender player. Like I have the history of promoting from AMI, and then having a fantastic contender season. So although my stats aren't as good, I could see them looking at it and saying double promo.
Also, what are the peaks?
We'll see. I think
like-
all of us are peak champ 1 in threes.
So then that's prospect for the record this season at least was 1160 to. Oh no. It was up to 1160, and so if the top third of champ 1 would be the bottom of Chally.
Okay.
Also, Sugar's going to be a monster in prospect. So I don't think he's getting double promoted as well. Like, I agree with you. But man, that dude's going to be a good dude to build the team around. Just
So
put
talk-
anyone Becky there.
So talking about Sugar, one stat I just want to throw out about the Contender Finals. Sugar Biscuit, 12 goals. Ice, 12 shots.
Yeah.
Like, Sugar was dominant. He was also the reason we made it to finals. He hit the final save and gave vibe to, with time running out, to make it to overtime. He doesn't make that
Shout
save.
out,
We never make finals to begin with.
I gotta check because I'm pretty sure Sugar Biscuit is who we selected as the series MVP.
Yes, that's correct.
Also, that's back to back. For those who don't know, Sugar was the 4th man on my contender team last season that won it all. And great presence,
Congrats
had a
to him.
bunch of drive. And so he ended up going back to back and going from a 4th man to finals MVP. So yeah, massive shout out to Sugar.
You know what's funny is I remember Rob selling him to me in my DMs.
I
said
tried,
no.
man. I was
I
telling
should have
you.
listened. I should have listened.
I remember
Dropping an all-star at
So-
my feet.
I did a tryout at the beginning of the season. I kind of thought like Sugar and Shattuck were gonna be my guys. We did the tryout. We ended up getting to play 2 games together. We lost both of them, and I messaged both of them and I was just like, "Hey, I know we lost the games we played together, but it felt really good. What are you guys' thoughts on teaming up?" And Sugar instantly, yeah, I'm in. Shattuck was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, I don't want to have to be the carry. Like, you know, I'm hoping we can be fine." Fast forward, I mean, we're all, and I told him, I was like, "I think we're all pretty good. Like, I think if you have a bad game, we'll do fine." And then, of course, he goes and puts up MVP
He
numbers.
doesn't ever have a bad game.
Seriously.
Man, if you ever have a bad game,
Man's
we
just built
got you.
different.
Just doesn't have a bad game the entire season, bro. It goes nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm not
think
gonna lie.
40
being
and
a
7.
hard carry, not a fun time.
Also, K-Flip asks, rival to elite. All teams are all in semis and Challies in the finals. Who's winning?
We'll get to that.
We'll
Are we-
we'll
are
definitely
we-
get it.
Are we going to talk about that after? It's not technically.
We're gonna have
seven.
time because
Okay,
we've
cool.
pretty much wrapped up Contender. We're getting into Prem here, And I mean, my guy,
Very
it's not going to
terrible.
take us 10, 15 minutes to get through Prem,
Yeah.
and then we're going to have plenty of time to talk the talk.
All right, we
I
got
just
5
wanted to
games to
make
talk
sure.
about, fellas. Yeah, no, I can do a quick little recap. We got Hurricanes taking down Orcas 3-0 and the semifinals on one side, and then on quarterfinals on the other. Megalodons taking down Gummy Bears 3-1. And then in the semifinals, the Megalodons lost to the Reapers 3-2. And in the semifinals on the other side, the Fairies took the Hurricanes to 4 games and beat them 3-1. So the finals were set up to be Fairies versus Reapers. And it looks like another case of perhaps the semifinals was the true final, as Fairies swept the Reapers in the final in dominating fashion, with Ree just balling out. It was unbelievable to watch the things he did.
Yeah, Reeg 5 goals on 9 shots,
He
putting
don't
up
miss.
377 a game.
I think the craziest part about that series is that if you look at the points per game, Fairies had players 1 through 3 and Reapers had players 4 through 6. So every single player on the Fairies outproduced every single player on the Reapers. Not only that, but Fairies, they didn't have our MVP pick in Peaceful, right? Peaceful had that 102 SBV at the end of the season, just unbelievable. But what Fairies did have is the number 3, number 5, and number 7 players in SBV in the entire tier of qualified 60 plus games, blah, blah, blah. So 3, 5, and 7 on the All-Star list. When you have 3 of the top 7 players at this level of Rocket League, it's just going to be relentless pressure from everywhere. Everyone's performing. There's not a gap. There's no space. You get suffocated from all angles, right? And they lost 1 game in the playoffs after being the overall number 1 seed, right? Like, these guys are clearly the best team here, and they acted like it for the regular season and the playoffs. It's tough
And I
to
just
say
wanna
anything else.
give a quick shout out to Static. Finding 2 players to work with yourself as a manager is not always something that's easy to do, as I'm sure that Rob and Tech can attest to. I know exactly what I want, and if that doesn't fit, there isn't really much I can do about it. I can play around it, but there's exactly certain types of players that I want around me, and I know both of you obviously have found them in your teams, both having great seasons, and it looks like Stack has done the same here, building just an absolute monster of a roster. Like, congrats to him. I always love to shout out good management when I see it, and that's a promising young AGM right there.
Something really cool about that too is that it's not like anyone's gonna get promoed out of Prem,
Yeah,
right? So
but they're all going to be tier max.
I mean, will they? Like, I don't know. There's at least a really cool partnership. You can almost certainly fit 2 of these guys for the foreseeable future in the coming seasons, right?
So, quick
and
tangent.
there's a core. Yeah, go ahead.
Talking about that core, I in 2s had the premier winning team. It was one of our AGMs, and then Ashes, and why am I blanking player right now?
You drawing a blank on Gavalanche there?
No, it was Ashes and General Zippy were the 2 players that our AGM had on his team in Premier, and they won Premier, all 3 of them in 2s, and now all 3 of them are within the top 10 players in MMR in 2s, and we cannot fit any combination of the 2 of them without having an AMI player on the roster.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Shout out
Speaking
numbers.
of our Prem players, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up a couple words that I got from Mr. Reeg himself, Mr. Championship of Prem. For most of you who have been around for a long time, Reeg has been probably one of our few Prem players that have really tuned into our podcast and really followed along. So, always solid when Reeg goes ahead and, takes the chip and then has time to give us some nice quotes. I just want to throw those out there real quick. We'll start with the first one here. I said, first off, congratulations on capping a championship caliber season with a fantastic finals performance to lock up the title. At what point during the season did you realistically feel like a chip was possible? And he said, From the get-go, I always believed we had a shot because Static and I built a really strong roster with every ounce of cap space that we could squeeze. Jay Pablo and I teamed in a different league before, and Static and I were teammates the season prior, so we had a lot of chemistry early on. I think the match day that really solidified it was match day 4 versus the Orcas. We started the season off strong, but coming through, they took that series, and it really showed them how well they were going to play. I mean, that's some confidence that early on in the season to be like, this is it. We got it. We're getting that chip.
That's crazy.
I think it's also cool because, especially, I'm going to keep talking about it, but at this level, right, it's hard to really find players that you have chem with.
Yeah.
Everyone has so many hours in their play style, right? Like, if you don't mesh right away, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And unfortunately, all these old dogs, SSL, are like 16. But point is, like, they have a particular play style at this point, and it's difficult sometimes to change that. And it's cool that they all had a little bit of chem going into it to kind of make that transition easier. And I think that it sounds like that played a big role in that confidence as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Tech, anything to throw in on top of that before I get into the second question?
No, I mean, just shout out, like, having that chemistry going into it. That's big, and obviously they did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point. Second question I asked him, though. Were there any teams that he was either looking forwards to playing or they really had to focus up against and take seriously? And he said, Solar was so strong this season. There's so many playoff teams. There were more playoff teams than spots. Any match against the Orcas, Hurricanes, Interstellar, and Beck were always tight, and we played them a lot. So they really understood, though, that their conference was loaded, and they were going to have to go through a buzzsaw to get that, solid, first off, a playoff spot, but second, to make it to the finals. So, I'd love to see somebody really looking forward to the future and kind of paying attention to really who's in his way. What are the roadblocks?
I heard this one term. I don't remember who said it once, but it was in some like post-game interview of an NBA game, and they called the respect for the other team appropriate fear, and it was that you truly understand what's in front of you. You're not scared of it, but you understand that there's a challenge, and you understand what needs to be done to overcome that challenge. And I think that's the teams that have that are the ones who lock in during playoffs, right? Because they understand what they're getting into, and they're starting out with the pedal to the metal. They're not, oh my goodness, let's see how game 1 goes and take it from there, right? Like, these guys are intense from start to finish, and you can see that in the way that they played, dropping 1 game in all of playoffs. And so that's admirable. Yeah.
Game recognizes game, it looks like, Rob, as your team made it into playoffs as well. If I can transition
Oh, man.
into
I got
the
one
future.
last.
One
I
last
got
thing,
one
and go for it.
One last thing. For me, I knew there's really nothing to promo out of from Prem, right? Like that's your top. You're there. That's the extent to where RSC goes. And I asked him, I was like, with Prem being the highest tier in RSC, what are your intentions for next season? Are you returning with the Fairies in RSC, or is he going to look for something outside of RSC? Maybe try to make it into some sort of like a low tier pro team? And he said, I'm too old for anything crazy. I've been a part of RSC since season 6 as a Chally player. I love the league. I love the friends I've made in this community. I'm happy playing here. As for staying with the Fairies, Hawk is just a great GM, and it's a great franchise, so I'd be happy to stay if we can build something special.
Also, shout out AB26 Panther for the tier 1 sub. Thank you for your support of the pod.
Hey. Thank you, my man.
I do love seeing a Prem player showing some love for the league.
Pretty sure Panthers and Chally, but
No, I meant for Reek.
oh, wonderful. Okay, fair enough.
Hey, Panther to Prem. That's
Panther to Prem. You heard it here first.
RSC's pay to Prem.
Oh man. But that wraps up our 6 tiers, or 4 tiers, sorry, 6 main kind of blocks here. Rob, I think it's time to talk your talk as we move on to a little bit of futuristic predictions here.
Alrighty. We'll start in the tier that's near and dear to my heart. Elite. We lost, right? Doesn't usually happen. Don't usually come on here
You
talking
won
about
the first
losing.
round.
We did win the first round. Everyone was counting a sweep for the other team, which felt really disrespectful. So it felt good to just like win against the presumed MVP. Has like a 97 SBV. Like shout out Viglio, he's a monster, but we got the better of him that day. But oh my goodness, now Elite is just popping off in the chat.
Oh, they are,
I
they
know a
are.
bunch of them are here. We've been talking in Elite chat this entire time about how they get the
Oh.
live reactions. So anyway,
Oh man.
whatever. We beat that team. Then we ended up getting 3-1 by the Great Whites, who were the 53-11 team, right? So they are incredible. We shot a whopping 2 for 29 in the series, 6.9%. Nice. At least that's a positive that comes from this.
Silver linings.
Yes, exactly. But Great Whites, they won 53 games for a reason, right? Like they are, I believe, the second most winningest elite team of all time, and would have had the best record in a variety of other tiers of all time, right? So, massive shout out to them. If anyone's gonna beat some us, it's that. But anyway, enough about me. We lost, whatever. So on one side of the semis, you have Great Whites and Azathoth. And on the other, you have Anju and Vibranium. So you have the 1 and 3 seed in Lunar, and then the 2 and 6 seed in Solar. I think Lunar is actually going to be a bloodbath. I think it's going to be really, really close. I think the two teams play similarly. I think that Skullsy and Greg are 90% of what Argnor and Levani are, but I think that their third in Moose is a little bit stronger. So I think it'll be a really, really fascinating matchup. And I'm really excited to watch it. Hopefully, I think the Great Whites are streaming it, so keep
Who do
an
you
eye.
predict's winning though?
I have Great Whites in 5. I
Great
think it's
Whites
still
in
best of
5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hold
it
on.
is
I
best
gotta
of
get a piece
5.
of paper so I can write this down.
Rob.
Oh gosh. All right. Great Whites in 5.
I'll take
I think.
Azathoth in 4.
Whoa.
I think
you just
Moose's
predicted
experience
a near
is gonna
sweep
come
for
out.
Azathoth. All right, so we've got Rob
I think it's gonna go 2-1-1.
has the GWs in 5, so going 3 and 2, taking it the full distance, right?
Yeah.
Then we've got Mr. Hum predicting it to go to Azathoth in 4. God damn.
All
right, Tech.
real difference maker.
The gypsy I've been seeing for all my my future plans has told me Azathoth in 4 as well, with Great Whites taking game number 2.
Wow. I'll just throw it out
I
there.
respect it.
I foresee the Great Whites winning it in 4, personally. I had the pleasure of scrimming both these teams throughout the season. I actually scrimmed the Great Whites a couple of times. They really know how to play up. So I definitely feel that we're going to see some solid
Also,
wins
X Factor
here.
is we actually got a bunch of Elite Chat in here. Does Elite Chat know if ACP or Atlas is going to be here? Because we lost them with their sub, who's still a monster, to be honest. But Atlas is playing, he says, who ACP is on vacation. Okay, so their sub who has put up really, really solid stats, right? It's hard to not put up really solid stats with 2 like MVP candidates on their team, but he's performed exceptionally and he beat us in playoffs. So yes, sub, but very good sub for Great Whites, just so we're all aware of the conditions.
So-
Moving on to Solar, right? We've
Yeah.
got Anju taking down the Rottweilers in 5 to make it to the semis, and Vibranium 3-1ing Menthol. As much as it pains me to say this, I got Donald
Bring
and
it on.
Vibranium in
Bring
4.
it on. Bring it on, baby.
Okay.
There it is.
They're also asking for my paragraphs from last week, so I'll get that out in a minute. But I got Vibranium in 4. Anju has kind of caught lightning in a bottle. I know 2 of their players really well. Anthich is really, really solid. And Dari is a buddy of mine. He can pop off at like any given time, right? So I think Dari is kind of the X factor in this series. If bro decides to just peak, like he could beat anybody. But I think his average level of play isn't quite high enough to beat a Vibranium team that was like had number 2 seed and then valid Argnor. Number 2 seed and then added a top 5 player in the tier. Also, listen, man, Arg, if we operate at a higher level and you beat us, bringing back this transitive property, right? You get to say that. You just do operate at a higher level than everybody, and that's okay. That's okay. But so I got Vibranium and Great Whites in the finals.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I have Vibranium in 3. I think it's going to be
I
clean
will
sweep.
be
There you go.
right back. Give me 1 second.
All right, I'll spare the time. I got a lot to say about these boys. I got Vibranium in 4. Unfortunately, they don't love to close out a series. As you can see, if you take a look at their path, they beat Fire, the 7th seed, in 4. They beat Menthol in 4. And I have a feeling that they're going to beat Anju in 4. And they're going to complete the 6, 7, 8 somehow path, Mickey Mouse final path. I'll take it. We're there anyways. But I will say
that more in a second here.
I will. But I think that these guys, as soon as they lose a game, something clicks. Like I've been talking with DJ for hours about what rosters to play because he has such a headache trying to decide who he should play between the 4 players that he has. I mean, DJ, Donald, Relax, and Likewise are all 4 starting all-star caliber players, I would say, if they were starting for the entire season on their own respective teams. And having to decide a lineup between that, I have given DJ as much advice as I can, but there's only so much I can say when certain players pop off on certain nights, and really it just comes down to between those 4 who's playing the best on what night. And the ability to switch up a lineup like that is, I think, one of the most powerful things to have in a playoff situation, where if you drop one game, you can say, all right, mental reset, let's bring in this guy. Boom, playing a completely different way.
I think it's also important to mention that that 4th man isn't just like a viable 4th. Depending on what you go with, I'm assuming Likewise starts as 4th. That dude is no slouch. He is quick. And so being able to increase your speed with a substitution can really, really catch opposing teams off guard. And so I just want to piggyback, right? Because it's even more of a benefit than just a standard positive 4th man. He's a really high ceiling of performance.
He's a speedy guy. Loves baseball too.
Okay, so what were predictions for Vibranium or for that solar side of things?
I think Rob and I said Vibranium in 4, and then Tech said Vibranium in 3.
Right.
What are you saying?
Hold on, I gotta write that down here. You said you and Rob were Vibranium in 3?
4.
Vibranium in 4.
Vibranium in 4. Okay.
They'll probably drop game 3, knowing them. They hate game 3 for whatever reason. Can't do it.
Oh yeah. Also, while we're talking about Elite, shout out Snack Time for making like a 35-minute video about his Elite predictions with like it's
Where?
funny too. It's in Elite chat if you want to try to find it. If someone wants to tag Hum in it. He made a 35-minute video, and then he made another 15-minute video, and then Tech made a response video to Snack Time's video. So there's a bunch of hilarious Elite stuff going on. So
that is awesome. Somebody
Tech.
needs to ping me with a link to that or a reply to it, please.
Tech, who did you predict is winning?
Vibranium in 3.
Vibranium in 3. Gosh.
Yep. I don't know who Andrew is.
You know, I don't know if
Ouch,
I should
Anthony.
be-
say that in Elite.
I don't know if I should
way
be
earlier.
the contrarian here, but no, I can't. I'm saying Vibranium in 4. I'm saying Vibranium in 4.
Now, let's not give them the caster curse. Please, God, I don't need that.
Sorry, bro. I know you're watching right now. You gotta lock
If
in, man. You gotta take that series. I don't believe in you.
If you
Show me.
saw the AMI finals when I was casting it, Enigma was about to make a prediction at the beginning, and I'm like, you keep your mouth shut. I've got a team that I need to win here. Don't say a word because it's going to cost them the
Right.
championship. I can already feel it. But no, so that gives us predictions for Elite here. Kind of have to keep things rolling a little bit. Chally, we've got
No. We still have Elite Finals.
my guy. Okay, who do you have winning finals?
I got Great Whites in 4.
You're funny.
All right, Tech, who do you got?
I have to say as it's off. I'm gonna say in 5.
As in 5.
Vibranium in 6.
Vibranium in 6.
Wait. I forgot it was a best of 7. Let me change my 4. Let's go with 5. Let's go with 5.
Okay.
I was okay. That's a little bit more reasonable. God damn, we'd sweep.
I predict the team that recently acquired Forza really started rolling well together. I'm picking Vibranium, and I'm going to say it's going to go the distance. We're going to see a 7-game championship win here.
It might.
All right, there you go. We've got our Elite predictions. I went and got an actual notebook. That way I wasn't writing on a scrap piece of paper that I could lose for next week. So,
Sweet.
now, Rob, we can move on to Chally. Though theirs is pretty straightforward. We only have the finals left for Chally, right?
Yep.
So, with that being said, it's going to be Squalls and Breadsticks. Both teams, I just want to put it out there. I've been talking with both teams a little bit. They played earlier in the season. Squalls are not sleeping on this. They do not mind. They think they're the better team, but they're going to come in really guns ablaze, the best they can. But I may have it on short word that Breadsticks using some mental thought processes here. They think that Squalls are going to be pushovers in the finals. Ugh, my man. I don't know if you can go into any finals with that kind of mentality.
I do have something kind of funny to add to this. I do have a former teammate of mine, one of my original best friends in the league, is on that Squalls roster. His name's GRobber22. My first season in the league, we were teammates, the only 2 players that had a total number of, we were the only 2 players that stayed on the team the whole season, and we had a total roster number of 12 different players throughout the entire course of the season. And that's signs and cuts. That's not even counting substitutions, which we had, I think, 3 or 4 more of. And so we got to know each other pretty well, and a lot of other random people. And then the next season, we teamed up again, and he got to finals. They lost in Game 7. It's all right. No worries. It happens to everybody. We team up again the next season, get to finals, and got swept. And, at that time, he really wanted to go to the draft, so we parted our separate ways. I've kept in touch with him, played with him a bit, but I saw a couple seasons ago in 2s, he made it to finals and lost in 6 games. So I've been pinging him so far every single day in Challenger chat saying, do not choke. And I think this time, he's going to go 1 for 4 and get his ring. I'm taking Squalls in 6, just as my early bird prediction.
Squalls in 6. Rob, who do you have coming away with the Season 17 Challenger Championship here?
I'm going to have to agree. In terms of the Squalls, I actually joined in on a Chally scrim with a prospect player on the team because whatever. So it was me and then my Chally captain Dondo and my prospect player Ethan against the Squalls, and they were pretty good. And I was like, dang, this is a Chally team. It's pretty good for a Chally team. And so based on that one experience, in which I was very impressed. I also know Free, and Free's really good, and he's on that team. So when in doubt, if you got a really, really solid player in a tier, I think that's what carries you through playoffs. So as we saw with Hawk, as we saw with Reeg, as we saw with all these other guys, right? Argnor, Forza, Skullsy, right? There's all these all-stars making runs, and I think that when in doubt, bet on them. Squalls in 6. Wait, you said that. Squalls in
Yeah.
7.
Ooh.
7. Okay. Tech, who do you got?
Yeah, so Red Six are real good, and props on them getting there. I know there's different rosters. Last season, my Charlie team went up against Squalls. I thought we had a chance. We got blown out. Actually got swept. Game 4, we thought we were bringing it to overtime. We owned gold with like 1 second left, and it just destroyed everything.
Ooh.
Well, going back and hearing the lore of that game, somebody from the Squalls got really, was really anxious and nervous, as you do in finals. Well, apparently they puked on themselves, still played through that, and swept us. And for that reason, I will never pick a team against Squalls ever. So I have Squalls in 4.
Squalls with the sweep. Holy cow. I'm drawing a broom. I'm not even putting a 4 down. I'm putting a broom here.
Please do.
It's a really bad broom because I can't draw very well, but you'll get the point. Squalls last season, very successful team. This season, they acquired Free from the, I believe, the Havarti Hustlers, who grossly underperformed last season. And Free literally made it his mission. He said, I'm going to prove all of my doubters wrong. You're going to know my name, and I'm going to be successful. And quite frankly, he's done just that. And when I talked to him before about this finals, he said, hey, I know we can win, but we're not going to sleep on it. We're going to do our best, and we're going to come in guns ablaze. We want this chip. And I think that level of mentality from a player that normally is your main scorer is something you need every game, every single match night. So it's hard for me not to pick Squalls myself. I'm putting Squalls in 6. So I think we're all kind of in a unanimous agreement here. We all kind of think Squalls are going to take this away.
Yeah. At least I do.
Yep.
But we only got 2 more left. Let's move on to Wednesday's matchups. Wednesday, I should have also said, Monday should be casted by, if I remember right, Croptopolis, who I believe this is going to be his last cast in a very long time, as he's got some IRL stuff going on. So please tune in for that. And we're going to have Enigma on the desk as well. Absolute studded lineup. And then on Wednesday, like I was saying, for the rival vet lineup, we're going to have T-Sant and Croc getting it in. So solid lineup of casters this week. 100%. I know Taz and HUD are both producing. Got to give them a shout out as well. But rival Wednesday. Sorry, got kind of on a tangent there. Tort Reform versus the Carrots. Why don't you start us off? Who you got coming out of Solar?
So I got Tort Reform coming out in 5 against Carrots. I think Carrots are
in 5.
a really strong team, but I just don't think that they quite have that X factor to make it all the way.
Fair. Tech. What you got?
I'm gonna go Carrots in 7, and I don't feel great
They're
about
best
it.
of 5.
Best of 5, my guy.
Yes, we're still in
this is
semifinals.
Still
All
in
right,
semis.
I got Carrots. I got Carrots in 5 then.
Carrots in 5. All right.
Just
Rob.
to fly out of the air.
Yeah, I also actually am gonna go Carrots in 5. I've been not like coaching, but I played a little bit with a couple of the dudes, and they're pretty good. And they got their mind in the right places. They're working on good stuff. Like they're locking in, and they're peaking when they need to. Right, they're performing right now. So it'll be. That said, Tort Reform was really good. So it is 5, and I think it could go either way. But I am giving Carrots the edge here.
I think Carrots are going to pull the upset off in 4. I'm going to be the one person who says we're not going to see a game 5. I don't know why, but I have a bad sinking feeling that Tort 4 might sleep on Carrots because, Carrots have had kind of an easy playoff run so far, playing against the 4-seed Blizzards and then the 6-seed Dalmatians. So they really haven't had to play too high of a seed. Solar for Rivals kind of weird. The 2, 3, and 4 seeds all being knocked out in the first round kind of left things pretty wide open. But no, so it looks like the only person here who's got any kind of favor for Tort, Mr. Hum. We'll see how that plays out. Lunar, Hammerheads on their record season as it continues. They, like we said before, 87.5% winning percentage, broke the Tempests from season 4 for all-time greatest record or win percentage.
Season 4 elite.
Solid. But we've got them playing against the 2-seed, Rob's very own Polaris. Rob, why don't you tell us who you've got winning this series?
I got Polaris in 5.
Okay.
I think the difference here is that you get to 56 wins by being, especially in a lower tier, it's not about having a ceiling, it's about having a higher floor than
Hold on,
everyone's.
Rival is not a lower tier.
Okay.
We got
But
GCs in there.
But my point that it is, I think it's in the lower half of tiers in RSC. I think it's 4th out of 9th, right? 4th lowest.
Yeah, it's the middle.
So it's in the lower half of tiers by definition. So I understand it's starting to get solid, right? But this is exactly what I'm getting at.
Wait,
which
is it Rival 5 out of 9?
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's the middle.
It's
whatever,
the middle. It's
in the middle.
dead middle.
Fine.
That's what I said.
That's not my point. I don't care. Look,
Sorry, Rob.
people
Keep
in
going.
Rival are not consistent in hitting the ball. Whatever, right? People in Elite aren't consistent in hitting the ball. It's how it works, right? And the way that you win a bunch of games in a tier is just by hitting the ball more consistently. But I think the playoffs can sometimes be a little bit more of, once both teams are actually more consistent than like everyone else, it becomes about more of those ceiling plays. I don't mean like the literal ceiling. I mean, can you outplay this player as opposed to will they make a mistake? And I think that the Hammerheads have proved to be the most consistent team in Rival ever. The most consistent team ever relative to their competition. But I think that if any team can compete with them in a ceiling-based game, that it's mine. They have 3 players who have hit 1,500 in 2s, and their captain is a genius, who's a Chally promo with like 75 SBV last season and like a 60 this season in Rival, and I trust him to navigate the team better than the other team's captain. So I think we win on the intangibles. 5 games.
Alrighty. Hum, what you got?
I think that you do have a good team, Rob, but I'm taking Hammerheads at 4.
I can't blame you. I can't blame anyone for taking the other team, man.
There's just something special about that team. I don't know if they're going to win it all. We'll see later. I'll tell you what my prediction is for that. But right now, I think they're going to take it in 4. I think your guys will actually get the first game, Rob. But I think that might serve as sort of a wake-up call for the Hammerheads to kind of get going. Because they did drop 2 games against, I believe, the 6th seed, the Hot Wings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
After sweeping the quads in the first round. But I think Polaris might take a game off them, might shake things up, ruffle some feathers, wake them up a bit. But I do ultimately think that Hammerheads are going to be in that final representing Lunar.
All right, Tech. You look like you got a good opinion there.
I don't know. I keep going back and forth, honestly. I've casted Hammerheads. I've seen how good they are. I've also seen Lacuna take 2 games off them. I also see them losing 2 games to Hot Wings. I don't like to agree with Rob on things. However,
There it is.
However,
I think there's some intangibles in play here. Like, I think if Polaris can come out and get game 1, I think they can almost roll over this. With that said, if Hammerheads come out and play their game 1 like they've shown, I think they could sweep. So I think that game one is going to be just so incredibly important, and it's not going to be important really in the ways of how it affects Polaris, but how it affects Hammerheads. For the sake of it, I'm going to go ahead and say Hammerheads comes out and wins game one, and then sweeps and wins in three. But if Polaris wins game one, I think they're going to the finals.
Okay.
Interesting take.
Calling the sweep. You know, I have to reference it as well because I watched that Lacuna series on stream. I wanted to see what the Hammerheads looked like. They were rolling on the season. They looked great. The pressure from the stream got to them. They did not look like the same rival championship team that, you know, a lot of people said they could be. And quite frankly, after seeing how they played against Hot Wings, I don't know. I think there's a lot of pressure riding on those Hammerhead shoulders, and I think Polaris are poised in the best potential spot to take this series. I gotta say Polaris. I think Polaris goes 3-1, takes it in 4. Ooh.
Very interesting predictions here. You make sure you're writing them all down.
I'd also like to say that I believe that both rival
betcha.
teams, both rival matchups, they've agreed to set them up at times that work so everyone can watch both series. Because everyone wants to be, like, everyone really thinks that they could win this, and I don't disagree at all. But so normally the semis would take place at the same time, but there's an agreement for those games to be played differently, and I think they're all going to be streamed on somebody's Twitch. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for that information as well.
Dual watch with finals.
Speaking of finals, Rob, we'll go right back to the top of the key here. Who do you have taking the Season 17 Rival Championship?
Hammerheads. Oh, not Hammerheads.
Polaris
Polaris in 5. But I
Polaris
also
in
think
5.
I
All right.
think that whichever team comes out of Lunar wins it in 5, to be honest. Like, I think that, like, if this were any other team that Polaris were playing right now, I would be homering a whole lot more, right? But, like, this is the one matchup where I think their skill will be matched. Because it's all about that ceiling, right? And I think their skill will be matched for the first time the entire season. And I'm really interested to see how they respond. But yeah, whoever comes out of Lunar wins it in 5, in my opinion. So we'll go Polaris.
Who do you have winning it all?
I think Tort Reform
Or
win it
Reform.
in 7.
Okay.
They're gonna take it the distance.
In
Take
7.
on the Hammerheads, pull off the upset. I mean, if you take a look at rival Tort Reform, they're 10 games back, but they have the exact same last 10 record as Hammerheads. Hammerheads have really slowed down in these last couple days these last couple match days before the seasons. And if you look at Tort Reform, they're matching them pace for pace, game for game, going 15-5 in their last 5 match days, and also taking on almost identical path to the finals, taking down the 8 seed 3-1, and then sweeping the 7 seed 3-0. Now they are playing the 5 seed, where Hammerheads are playing the 2 seed. But if you look at that wild card and quarterfinals round, Hammerheads 3-0ing the quads and then dropping 2 games to Hot Wings, I think that could be a sign of things to come. And I've got Tort Reform in 7, helping my boy K-Flip get his first trophy.
Okay. Tech.
Yeah,
Who's getting the chip?
Of course, I had prediction. I had backup prediction. So, Carrots versus Hammerheads. My main prediction is going to be Carrots taking that in 6, for all the same reasons that Hum said. However, I think if Polaris comes out of Lunar, they're sweeping. They're taking it in 4.
Okay. You know, personally, I would have a hard time not picking K-Flip if K-Flip would stop dodging me and actually get on the pre-jump at some point in time. I've reached out to him like 3 times, but he just can't seem to make it happen. But
Potential finals interview next week. We'll see.
I do too, my guy. How do you think I afford everything I've got here? Come on. I personally, though, I gotta say, it's gonna be Polaris. They're coming out. They're gonna get it in 4.
Wow.
I think they're going to sweep whoever they see. Easy
I
peasy,
I'm rooting
easy
for
peasy.
Rob a little bit.
I think that whoever comes out of that semis is just gonna feel so good.
Oh
Right?
yeah,
Like
They're on
that-
two
I think-
different nights, though. That's one
Yeah,
thing you
but-
got to think about. Most of the times when you have a really big semifinal matchup and it carries over into that final, that's where you really want to be looking for those big semifinal matchups that could carry over into the final, carry up the momentum that could lead to sweeps. But we got two different match nights here. I think that Tour Reform are going to pull it out. Sorry, keep going.
That's super valid. I just think that whichever one carries that momentum. I think that sometimes coming out of a super intense series and winning it can almost be bad for an immediate next series, because then you're not thinking clearly, you're not calm, you're not operating from a place of, I'd say, just full clear-headedness, right? And I think that that's we could debate this for days, but I think there is
100%.
a chance at it both being a benefit and something that's not good. Wow, I am brainwashing. That's cool. It could go either way.
All right, but speaking of going either ways, let's get into our final matchup. We've got actually two final matchups. But we got Veteran on the Solar side, Possessed, the team that we saw at the beginning of the season, repping 3 players above 90 on the SBV. Had to be a team to watch, making it in after squeaking past Rob's Singularity there. Singularity's your team, right? Am I
I
tripping?
don't.
Supernova.
Yes.
Supernova, my
Singularity
bad.
is
My bad.
the
Look at me.
EVH franchise. I forget what that is exactly called at this second.
Event Horizon.
Yes, Event Horizon.
Fair enough. But we've got the Wyverns, the 6th seed, upsetting the Peppers from Solar. Who do you have? Tech, start us off here.
I'm gonna go Possessed. They've had the great start to the season. Middle of the season kind of faltered a little bit, but then they came back. You got Arctic, you got Raccoon there. Give me Possessed in 4.
Possessed in 4. All right. Hum.
So while it is
You got-
extremely hard to bet against Raccoon and this Possessed team, I really want Wyverns to complete the sweep of 1, 2, and 3 in Solar, which they have already knocked off number 3 in 4 games, and they've already knocked off number 1 in 4 games, and I think they're going to do the same thing here, knock off Possessed in 4 games.
Wyverns in 4. All right. Rob, who you got?
Possessed in 5. I think
Possessed
that Wyverns are on fire, but I think that Possessed is kind of like that Hammerheads team light, right? Like, I mean,
They've got
they're
amazing players.
it's so hard to get past a team of 3 really quality players.
For me, man, I gotta say it has to be. It's gotta be Wyverns. They're on a warpath. They've knocked off the 3. They've knocked off the 1. Here comes the 2, and then there's one more to be done and take that championship. Finish out that run. Just saying.
You rhymed like 5 times right there.
Yes, I did. I made that on purpose.
You rhyme all the time.
No, I say Wyverns in 4. It's gonna happen. They're gonna finish it out. They're gonna take the series, and then I'm not gonna lie. Lunar's gonna be a little bit more clear cut and dry for me, honestly. Here, I think it's Supernova. Supernova in 3.
Yeah, I'm also going Supernova in 3, unfortunately. I just don't. While I do like the people on the Good Gangsters, I don't necessarily like their chances against this Supernova team. Rob has built an absolute monster, a home run for him since my team is already out. If they were in, they'd be my pick to win it all. But I may have to change that. I got Supernovas in 3.
I think you're both incredibly wrong.
Ooh, all right.
I think it's gonna go 4 games, but Supernova still wins it.
Fair.
I never thought that this day would come. I have Supernova in 5.
Wow.
I believe in, like,
No faith.
It's not that I have no faith. We've played Good Gangsters twice this season, and we 2-2'd them both times. The second time, granted, both teams had a sub. I think there was a larger drop-off from our third man, who's an all-star candidate. to our sub than there is from their third to their sub. So I think that benefited them. But I mean, when you look at this team, right, 2-2ing them is not an easy thing to do. I think, would I be surprised if Supernova swept? No. Would I be surprised if they won in 4? No. I would be surprised if Gouda Gangsters won, but I'm not going to write him off like I would. I think that Supernova sweeps 3-1s everyone else in the tier, but I think Gouda Gangsters gives them a run for their money. But I think we still win in 5.
You think you win in 5? Do you think your team wins the chip?
I think we win the chip in 4, to be honest with you.
Chip in 4. All right.
I think it's a contender situation where that Lunar semis is really it's the same thing in Rival. I just think that Lunar is so strong. The top 4 GMs in win rate are all in Lunar this season. And so what you're seeing is sorry, I'm at number 5. Number 1 in Solar though. But like you
Could have just said 4 out of the top 5. Could have.
I'm sorry, but that wouldn't get the whole point across, which is that I'm playing 2 Atreco's teams in the final or in the semis. It's been between me and Tux in a bunch of these matchups. Like, it's me and Tech, our elite teams, all of our teams have been going head to head at the top. Like, it's cool, but I wish that it would be a little bit more spread out to where the finals feel more like the finals.
Yeah, Hawk, unfortunately you missed Master. I can fill you in after the podcast if you want. Just kind of give you the rundown.
Lunar also has 4 out of the bottom 5 GMs, as my wonderful AGM just pointed out.
That's valid. I can't speak for them. I haven't been playing them much.
Who do you got taking it all?
I got Supernova in 6.
Super 6.
I think Wyverns are going to come out, take a game, and then trade the next 2. And then Supernova are going to realize who they are, what their job is, and complete the objective. To put it simply.
Tech, who you got?
I want to check something real quick here.
While you're checking, I'll go ahead and throw mine if you'd like.
Please do.
Wyverns, 6 games. I think they cap off the most legendary upsetting run, the 6 seed knocking off the 1, 2, and 3 from Solar, and then I think they take it 6 games against Supernova, knock off 2 1 seeds, a 2 and a 3. You got to put that in the history books at that point. It would be a legendary run, and I think they're going to do it.
That would be a legendary run led by a GM himself, being, I believe, the top player in both SPV and IDR on his team, Hawkish, supporting a 57.7 SPV and 67.2 IDR.
Shout out the homie.
Shout out Hawkish. Also, one of those top 5 GMs that we talked about earlier.
We should just start like a little round table of... Never mind.
All of our marbles are going to get fucked next season.
I actually had 0 marbles in the top half in any of my tiers anyway, so they can't nerf me. So.
It's alright, I used up all of my luck on the 2's draft lotto, in which I got 2 back-to-back first overall, or Mark got 2 overall first back-to-back picks in Prospect and Contender, and we didn't have a pick outside the top 4.
That's nuts.
Mark went absolutely nuts.
Yeah, we
got Mark's
lucky.
marble.
All right, Tech, who you got? Who's clearing out the chip?
I got Possessed in 7. I think it's going to be a really hard series. I can see probably most of the games actually not being too close. One of the teams going to jump out ahead early. The other team will just say, okay, we'll go next. And it's going to be a slugfest until probably about games 6 and 7. Things will kind of even out a little bit. We're going to have some really good games. Game 6 going to go to overtime. Supernova is going to take that one, and then Possessed is going to take Game 7 3-2 and win the whole thing.
Fair enough. Well, fellas, that wraps up all of our predictions. I've got them all written down here. So next week, When we come back, we'll be able to actually see how our predictions went. Like I said, actually, before I kind of get into wrapping up the show here, anybody else got any final thoughts for the week?
Shout out every single team that we mentioned for just making it this far. Like, even if you lost, just making it to playoffs is nothing easy. Winning one round is nothing easy. Making it to semis, making it to finals, like this is some really hard stuff to do. Like, you're going to get up against the best of the best in your skill level, and it gets hard to string together wins. So everyone who's made it, give yourself a pat on the back. It's not easy to do, so shout out you guys.
And also, just really quickly, once again, shout out so far to Elastic, Dagon, Pepperoni Pizza, Blues, and Fairies for winning all of those championships so far.
They should count more in the postseason weighting of management.
Oh, we got into this.
Oh man, I'll just give a shout out to everyone watching. Obviously, shout out to you guys. I mean, you guys are the podcast guys. I'm kind of just here, but shout out for you guys putting this on, so RSC has something to kind of tune into and enjoy, and kind of brings a little bit more attention to, you know, all these specific teams, all these really fun not activities, but these games going on. But also, huge shout out to everyone watching. You guys watching this makes it worth us coming on here and saying a bunch of random stuff that's totally not true, but pretend like we know what we're talking about. Appreciate it.
Not qualified at all for this, by the way.
I think there's one person I gotta shout out. It's gotta be Mr. Tech4 himself coming on yet again, especially on such short notice. Tech's been on now, what is this, your third time?
Second,
Seems to be.
Might be
Hey, man.
third. I don't know.
It feels like you've been here from the start, I'm not gonna lie. But like we talked about before today's podcast, we talked about it kind of in private, really came to an agreement here between me, Rob, and Mr. Humdiggity himself. Tech4 will be joining the podcast as a more permanent face, becoming our next People's Champion. So, anybody watching, you are going to see a little more of that man's mug as he gives you some great insight into the league. So, big shout out there, Mr. Tech. Thanks for being on.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, now
But-
good luck scheduling with the three of us doing Hell V4 transactions. We will all be running tryouts
it'll be-
24/7.
It'll be fine. We'll figure it out. But with that being said, week 12 has been, 1 week to go. We've only got one more week of finals starting up this next week. RSC Solar will be live on Monday, 9 p.m. 10:30 Eastern. Oh my goodness, almost got into the pre-jump mode. Or is it a little sooner? Are they still doing it sooner? 9:45?
I think it's 9:30
9:30.
for Chally.
I got to pull
and
this up
then
here before we get
10:15.
out.
It's 9:30 for Chally and then 10:15
Yeah.
for Elite.
Yeah,
And then
9:30,
same times for Rival
10:15.
Veteran Day.
There we go. Solid. Now that we got the right numbers out. Like I said, my name's been Boss Radala. Hasn't changed. Will stay the same. We've got Mr. Rob coming in hot here as always. Tech4, thanks for joining us. This has been week 12. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good one.
Or don't.
See myself standing on the edge, about to fall. Don't know if you like to see me out there beneath, while I'm struggling to breathe on my own.